We're being recorded.
Madam President, we are live.
Okay. Ready? Good evening. The North Rock School District of North Rock, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being held via Zoom video conference for participants. Viewers will be able to watch the VA North Rock Facebook page live stream Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. And good evening. At this time, I officially call the meeting to order. Roll call, Mrs. Colquitt.
Andy Campbell, here. Elizabeth Huggins.
Here.
Rochelle Redis.
Here.
Tracy Steele.
Here.
Cindy Temple.
Is here. I can't hear you, Rhonda.
I think she's got it muted. Natalie Longfield.
Here.
Dorothy Williams.
Here. At this time, we're open for new business on the Auditor's Action Plan, Communications Coordinator's salary, management. This is coming from the HR.
Madam President, excuse me, I'm going to present it to the board.
I can't hear, I'm mute. Huh?
Definitely having some technical difficulties.
May I
I mean,
continue,
it's
Madam
not
President?
working. I can't hear the. Can you hear anything, Dot?
I can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear?
Yes, I can. So, Madam President and the members of the board, this is the communication coordinator salary. This is from the auditors. The auditors just want us to go ahead and address this issue regarding the salary of the communication coordinator. What you have with you is a letter. The auditors do not have a stake in it. They just want us to go ahead and address it and do a corrected action item on this. So this is regarding the salary. I also sent you some additional information today so that you can decide which direction you want to go in regards to the communication salary going forward. So we just need to address this issue, and they asked us to put this on the agenda to address it so that we can get this matter resolved.
Okay, board members, it is now open for discussion. And I will recognize you. I can call the roll to make sure I don't miss anybody. Ms. Campbell, what do you have to say pertaining to the, okay.
She's muted. She has it on mute.
I have a question about the salary. Anybody else question it?
Dr. McGee sent us that personal information via email earlier today. So I don't have a question about the salary, but I did notice that the position that was posted said communication coordinator, not director. So I director.
Okay. Ms. Campbell, what was your question?
Was the amount of the salary?
If you'll give me 1 moment, I'll slide that information to you.
Yeah.
I do not think we can. Dorothy, can we discuss that?
We're having a,
I don't think we can discuss the salary. That's my question. Can
Yeah.
we?
everything is
We're not.
bouncing off.
We
The only
can't.
thing we're supposed to be doing is voting, saying yes or no, and that's it.
Right. Okay, board members, Madam Parliamentary Procedure, Parliamentarian, would you present a motion, please?
Madam President, I would like to put a motion forth to the board to rectify communication coordinator instead of communication director. This will also include the pay.
I need a second, please.
I second it.
It has been moved and properly second that this position be moved to the as a coordinator in lieu of the director, which had come through our persons who were doing our
Auditing.
auditing, and they had said that it would have to go before the legislatures. And so in doing so, that this communication is intended solely for information for the use of this board and management and the legislature's joint auditing committee. So it is not intended to be said and should be said by anyone rather than us. So at this time, we've had a motion and it's been second. Ms. Colquitt, would you call the roll, please?
I have a question. I have a
Okay,
question,
yes.
Madam President. So
Mr.
could
Steele.
you or the superintendent kind of expound on what we're doing here? Is this for, I'm reading this letter, is this for the present, or is this for moving forward? How does this affect the person in the position presently?
This case,
To be clear about it.
Dr. McGee, would you answer the question, please?
Yes, thank you. And I also have the our chief finance officer also to chime in too if you have that. But I think that we're looking at moving that to the next fiscal year since we're right there at the end of this year. Mr. Brown, is that correct?
That's correct. The audit had just noted this in a management letter. They had noted that this was a control issue, an internal control issue. They asked that the board just make a final decision regarding the title and the salary schedule. And we're intending on that being effective July 1. So we'll communicate the board's decision to our auditors, and then they'll indeed audit this particular issue when they come out in October of next year to make sure pay and title match the board's decision.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It had been moved and properly second as coordinator or director. Those in favor of the position as being coordinator, Ms. Oh, call the roll, please.
Sandy Campbell,
Coordinator.
Elizabeth Huggins,
Coordinator.
Rochelle Ramos,
Coordinator.
Tracy Steele,
Yes, coordinator.
Cindy Temple,
Coordinator.
Natalie Walker,
Yes, coordinator.
Dorothy Williams,
Coordinator. Thank you. The motion has been passed. At this time, we will have the correct action on page 6 that has already been raised. This was a part of Mr. Mark Glover, who was a principal auditor for the Hudson and LLP company. This was for our information for the audit to be corrected, and this was the action that needed to be taken. And I thank you, board members. So at this time, we will have the RIF process presented by Dr. Jacob Smith, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Hello, board. The last board meeting we had the presentation on the RIF process, and I wanted to come back and give an update and some clarification. And so in that amount of time, we've had attrition that is taking care of the secondary administrator positions. And so we are not going to have to move forward in regards to anybody being RIFed at the secondary level. And that has been communicated from the interim superintendent on down. We also have about 90 other actions that were communicated to our staff. And again, attrition is taking care of most of these things. Some were removal of stipends, removal of national board stipends, MCL DRT stipends. There was a reorganization within our direct reach teachers, parental engagement professionals being moved from a 207 to a 191. So there's just a bunch of different corrective actions that have occurred. And that a lot of that is within our Title I. Some of that is within our operating, as far as our bus drivers going from 8 hours to 6 hours, and then us filling out timesheets. But the process is still continuing, and all those names and specific actions will be coming to you guys in the next board meeting for you guys to approve. And so if you guys have any questions in regards to anything that was discussed in the last board meeting or this board meeting, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions now.
Board members, it is now open for discussion.
Yes, I have a question. Good job, by the way. So does this mean, since we've done it through attrition, that these particular positions will not be filled moving forward for the at least in the immediate future?
Correct. They're going to just be absorbed, but anybody that we have currently staffed will still remain in the position they hold at the moment.
Thank you.
Questions?
The stipends that got adjusted, was that across the board or was it just a handful of people?
My list I have right now, it's about 25 to 30 people district-wide that have had stipends adjusted in one way or another.
Okay, I guess I'd like to know that we're treating everybody the same. So I'm wondering how many people will still have to go through that process. Are you done looking at all the stipends? What does that look like?
These are the stipends that were brought to our attention in regards to license, like national board licenses expiring, and so they can no longer receive the stipend. The MCL and the DRT, that's on a 2-year rotation. The DRTs are not going to be renewed, and we're going to pay them per our policy of overages, which is a state law, and it's something we have in policy for anybody that teaches a load over 150. The DRTs were kind of being treated in a different way, but it was just the decision of the administration that we're going to move away from that model. And some of the stipends, like I said, have to do with our opportunity culture, and those things are reorganized and restructured based on information from the building and based on information from Christy Ratliff in regards to our Title I funding.
Okay. Are there other questions from other board members?
So just to be clear, the teachers, the national board certified ones, those are the ones whose licenses, I mean, not their licenses, but their certification has not been renewed.
Yes, ma'am.
It's expired. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And for clarity, board members, because online at the Arkansas Department of Education, we had a statement that we were only listed that we only had 100 and some. We had 2,146 students, okay? That's what was turned to ADE. But in terms, I had Mr. Smith, he needs to explain because he keeps telling us we only have projection be 1,000. What's that number, Dr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am. So the numbers I presented were based on our current ADM, which is our attendance through the first 3 quarters for this year. And so the final number we came up with was 2,124, but that includes our ALE and our high school. And so we have 205 active members within our ALE. And whenever you pull that number out from the total, you get 1919. And so the numbers from last year that were reported to ADE were those 2 combined based on their attendance through cycle 7. And right now we have 3 quarters to work off of, but what we're working off of is the most up-to-date and accurate information that's pulled directly from our funding report.
And this is the projection for the year 2021?
Correct.
And so with that thought in mind, what I'm really concerned about is that the teachers got these letters of saying they were ripped, and I hear you telling us that maybe it not happen, but this is a we as a board and with the help of Dr. McGee, that in that they got these letters, at this time, there's not a comfortable feeling that I may not have a job still. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think the proper procedure that was overlooked, that everyone in the district perhaps need to see that letter showing where our finances, the reason why. That's what I'm saying. You understand? You
Yes, ma'am.
came up with this, but all the staff in the North Rock School District need to see it. So I think that they could better understand this, because basically when I look at the high school, we have 2 elementary schools, and I want you to explain that too, with less than 300, when I look at what the ADE have, okay? They have assistant principals. And then at the high school, we have a large student body, encompass safety, and to see us taking an assistant principal from this school, that to me needs to be settled right now. You know, I need some answers to that, because I'm concerned more or less, and I understand, but you can explain that because I asked you this prior. So would you go ahead and explain that process to the board, please?
Yes, ma'am. So the numbers I presented in the last presentation kind of put us on a pupil per AP ratio. And so the numbers that I discussed, we ended up at 416.22 per AP at the elementary level and 388.09 per AP at the secondary level. And so you break those things into different LEAs and different schools, and there is some across the board adjustment that needs to be made. But one thing that was not taken into account in the presentation, and it was taken into account, but it was not discussed, is that we had no pre-K numbers in those values because we don't receive funding in the same way for pre-K as we do through K through 5. So those principals at the elementary level, the 2 elementary schools you're discussing, Glenview actually has a total enrollment according to the Standards for Accreditation report of 415, and 7th Street has 343 whenever you factor in their pre-K numbers. And so those APs that are paid out of operating are still responsible for those. Those teachers are paid out of a different pool. And so that's kind of a cross comparison. If we actually compared the actual numbers, I think our elementary per AP values would be more or less around 450 as opposed to that 419 or 416.
Well, for teachers and administrators to hear, those persons that have received these letters, where do they stand so that they can have a clear mind of this is not happening to me, or because these are not just teachers, these were our support staff too.
Yes,
where do
ma'am.
we stand as a board to move forward?
Like I said, all of those things are going to come to you in the next board meeting, and the board will be able to make a decision on that. No RIF has occurred whatsoever, just the process of the reduction in force, and the board always has the final say. And so
Right.
we'll get with you guys in the next board workshop, and we'll have a conversation, and we will have specific positions and titles and the things that were done in order for us to remain solvent in kind of the plan we have moving forward.
We'll be looking forward to that report.
I have a question.
Yes,
ma'am.
Just for clarity, Dr. Smith. So if I'm clear, the 14 APs that received the letter saying they're being riffed, they're not going to be.
Correct. There had no rift has occurred.
So can we, out of good faith, send them a letter saying that they're not going to be riffed?
Yes, ma'am. The letter has already been provided per the superintendent, and they have received their contracts. We received into my office official notification of 2 positions of letters of resignation, and we are waiting on a 3rd, but we are waiting on board approval.
But we've sent something to them saying, you know, we're not riffing you, so
Correct.
that they
Yes,
have.
ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Are there other questions from board members?
One
Yeah,
other
just a
question,
quick
please,
question.
for
Okay.
clarification. The academic coaches and the intravenious that are losing the position due to adopting the opportunity culture model, what's going to come about from that?
So that's within the Title I realm, and there's a lot of decisions made at the building level in regards to that. And so what we do is we sit down with each building building level administrator, and we talk with them about their plan and kind of how they want to adjust their staff, how they want to make their opportunity culture or different mechanisms look. And so that could be coaches, that could be MCLs, that could be all of these different positions. And so many of these people that are losing either the MCL stipend or the DRT stipend or something of that nature, they still have a job within North Little Rock. There might be some push to open those positions back up within the same school, but they're on a 2-year rotation because of opportunity culture. And so it will be up to the principals about how they move forward in regards to the spending of their Title I funds.
Thank you for that clarification.
And Madam President and members of the
Yes.
board, let me add to that. Please be mindful that the Title I funding changes year to year. So we may or may not get the same funding, maybe an increase, it may be a decrease. So we may not have a choice but to make some cuts with the Title I funding, depending on how much funds that we get each year.
Are there other questions from the board members?
Madam President, just one quick question. What is DRTs?
Direct reach teacher.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there other questions for clarifications?
I just had a question about, do you have any idea how many sixth graders will have this year?
Ms. Campbell, I'm sorry, you're mute. Go ahead, ma'am. You were muted whenever you.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many sixth graders we're gonna have? Because that's where the MCLs come in.
The number I have right now, based on my presentation in the 3/4 of ADM, is we're going to have 611 at the 6th grade campus.
Okay, that's about normal.
Okay, then, well, Dr. Smith, what we will expect for you to do is to have your presentation at the next board meeting. And we go through the process of next time we're trying to do this, that we will follow policy and do those things that are, you know, making us staff aware is what's going on. And so with that, are there any other questions? If not, we can move forward. Yes, okay.
And for clarification again, so the Title I funds, will it stay with the schools that receive it? Or will we put it in a lump sum and divide it out where needed?
That's kind of out of my preview. Yeah, Dr. McGee, if you want to speak to that.
Yes, the Title I funds will stay at each school. Each school is allotted a certain amount of money. And again, that's gonna be based on several factors. One of them is our poverty rate, our socioeconomic status rate, our lunch rate and stuff like that. So it varies. So it will stay at the school to answer your question. Each school will have a pot.
And you don't, are there other questions? Then the question I'm asking you, Dr. McGee, you don't see a rollover of elementary schools losing funds and money being taken from them because they've overspent. I do understand that perhaps they have already met about their future budget, and they did that last year, but then it ended up that schools had to lose money because there were conflicts. So you do not anticipate any of this happening again to any school?
I do not anticipate, but again, please be mindful that several things. Again, the awarded amount of the Title I funding, but the salaries. Remember, if you think about the salaries, and remember each year they get a step in the fringe benefits. That takes it out of the Title I salary. So there's more money that goes into the salary. So it's just several factors that take a place and take part in that Title I funding. I don't anticipate anything other than the salary may increase, and that part of the fringe benefits and salary that got to come out of Title I may be a little bit more depending on the step of the employee at that time.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have any other questions on this subject? If not, Dr. Smith, we thank you for the report on the RIF process. At this time, we need a resolution for the COVID-19 coming from Mr. Brown to pay all employees during the school closure. Is that coming from you, Dr. McGee, Mr. Brown?
It's coming from me, Madam President.
Okay.
Thank you. We are bringing to you the second resolution that will carry us through the end of the school year. This is the continuation of pay. If you recall, we approved, you all approved as the school board, the first resolution for continuation of pay for all employees. That was at the direction of our auditors. I'd spoken with them to make sure we were doing this the right way and it wouldn't be an audit issue when they came in October. And they expressed that having the superintendent and the board sign an approval that this would be sufficient for their needs. So the first resolution approved us during the first closure period. This is the second closure period. So this is April the 20th through the remainder of the fiscal year 20 school year. So this will carry us through the end of this fiscal year. If we could get the board to approve this, we'll be set for the rest of this fiscal year.
Board members, may I have a motion, please?
Madam President.
President, I have a question.
Okay.
So, Mr. Brown, is this one exactly the same as the previous one we approved?
Yes, sir, it is. It's exactly the same. The only thing that changed was the language that covers the period of time. So the dates and then the language that says from April the 20th through the remainder of the fiscal 20 year.
Madam President, I move
Welcome.
we approve the resolution.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Call the roll, Ms. Colquitt.
Yes.
Rhonda needs to unmute.
Oh, you on mute? She's on mute.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, the motion has been carried. At this time, Mr. Brown, you have the board financial payment of the bills.
Yes, ma'am. This was for the month of March. And if you recall, we were getting contracts out for teachers and we were unable to get this information together for the regular monthly meeting. So we brought it to you on this agenda. We're asking that you all approve the March board report, the March check register, and the bank rec for March. Those items are in number 4.
Okay, and this is like a consent agenda, so we still need to vote on it.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the March board report, the March check register, and the bank receipt that was presented by our CFO, Brian Brown.
I need a second. It has been moved and properly second that we accept the board financial payment for monthly bills. Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, the motion has been carried. And then, Mr. Brown, I assume you're still on the purchases greater than $20,000. Would you explain that, please?
Yes, ma'am. We are bringing this to you. We did not want to wait until the regular May agenda because these are time-sensitive purchases. We need to purchase or renew the Google Management Console. That's going to come from Title I funding, $60,056.64. And then Perkins funding would like to order some Chromebooks, or I guess those are actually laptops, Dell Latitudes. They're laptops, and we need to get these in, get them ordered prior to the end of the fiscal year. So with your approval, tonight, we'll get the Perkins laptops on order, and that's to spend the Carl Perkins funding that's been allotted to our district for this fiscal year.
May I have a motion from the board, please?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Brian, with this laptops, who are those going to? Are those for the students or are those for the teachers or both?
Dr. McGee, do you know the answer to that?
They were for both students and teachers that they ordered through the CTE department or CTE classrooms at the high school.
I need a motion.
Madam President, I'd like to accept the agenda approval for the Google Management Console license and the Dell Latitude.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve the purchases for the greater than $20,000. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. At this time, thank you, Mr. Brown. Now, this report on the Quinn Associates Consulting Agreement for the North Rock School District, and it's on page 97 of your packet. And what actually happened is that our contract with them ended on May 20 and the end of this month. And there were some ongoing things that he needed to do, but I wasn't sure because of pandemic that this could have been done. And so what I guess I'm asking the board to do we need to extend his contract or just let him complete the work that we paid him for and he hasn't been able to complete it? I would like some discussion, please.
Do we know what he has not finished yet?
It's on the back of page 91. I believe that was of your packet. And you'll see some things under there that he had planned to do. Those of you that have your packets, you can look at it and see. And so he wasn't able to complete it because of the pandemic, and that's understandable. And so my question would be that we allow him the time to go ahead and complete what he's doing. We had already, the pay was, Mr. Brown, the pay was already there, correct? For Mr. Quinn.
The budget was already budgeted for Mr. Quinn. I don't know if we paid him all the money as of yet. I think he's been billing, sending invoices, and I'm not sure if maybe Ms. Colquitt could answer that. I don't know if Mr. Quinn has sent us an invoice. If he has, we've paid it, but I don't know if he's billed us for time after the pandemic started or if that's still just pending budget to be spent.
Okay, what are your concerns, board members? Please express this.
I don't have a problem extending it as long as we weren't being billed for the time that he couldn't work.
Okay. Other comment, huh?
You were billed.
We were billed. We were billed. And so,
So you're saying we were billed, but we don't have the information. We were billed, but we don't have the information or what he was supposed to do. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Brian, Mr. Brown comes back. Your department has not received the bill from him, to your knowledge.
Well, now, I mean, Miss Colquitt would know that better than I. I don't see every purchase order that comes across, but she and I have discussed that there was a contract and that there was some invoicing that was happening. But maybe Miss Colquitt, do you know, have we been billed the entire contracted amount for this contract, or is there still some pending charges?
I have not received the bill for this month.
Okay, so we still have a pending invoice then for this month.
So what is you all suggestion? You see on there, our contract officially ends May 15th.
Madam
But,
President, I have a question.
okay,
I want to know if we have enough information from Mr. Quinn to complete a strategic plan. I think everyone was in agreement that that was important and long overdue. So, you know, I would ask kind of where is it, if we have enough information for a strategic plan, then we can end it. If we do not, then I would recommend we allow him to continue his work, because if we don't, then we have just really wasted that and have to almost go back to square one.
Okay, and he did have some things, Mr. Steele, on page 95 that he wanted to complete, but because of the pandemic, he could not complete those. And we paid him the money, but I guess if, Dr. McGee,
Yes, ma'am.
would you contact Mr. Quinn to find out, until you can have some information for the board?
Yes, that's actually, I was going to trying to say that he did email me just today that where he was close to the last piece of his plan that he didn't get a chance to do due to COVID-19 was the curriculum. He said that that was going to take some time to do the curriculum. Now, I have not followed back up with him, but I will follow up with him directly to see exactly, to ask me specifics, to talk about specifics in terms of the curriculum that he's speaking of. So he did email me late this afternoon stating just that.
So
Okay.
Dr. McGee.
Dr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Excuse me. Thank you. So Dr. McGee, I would follow up with Mr. Quinn and just say, if we're, from a finance standpoint, if we're paying the entire contract from a financial standpoint, then we'll want to work out a time frame for him to complete his work that's enumerated in that contract. So,
and I would want to get with you, Brian, so that I can look at the contracts, because I don't know, I wasn't a part of that contract discussion, so I can see it when I'm speaking with him. Where are you according to the terms of our contract?
Okay, we can handle that.
And also I'd like to say, Mr. Superintendent, since you were not here, I think I remember during that contract period, Miss Tanisha Wiley was basically the point person on the board responsible for that. And I'm sure she'd be willing to help as far as how this all originated and started going. She's still very supportive of the district, I understand.
10-4, I'm sorry, thank you. Yes, sir, I'll reach out to her as well.
Okay.
Madam President, can we then, it sounds to me like the best thing to do, and if we need a motion, yeah, we would, because it's on the agenda, to table it to the next meeting so that we can get some more information as far as how much she's billed for, if we're being charged for the time that COVID-19 and he couldn't do what he needed to do.
Okay. It can be an action item, but we can table it at this time.
Then I make a motion that we table this item for the next time.
Okay, I need a second for that. You need to put it in a motion.
Second.
Question?
I want to know how much longer it's gonna take you. It's expensive.
Okay, we'll have all that information at our very next meeting. And we're meeting every other day. Okay, I'm sure by that time we'll have that information available, Ms. Campbell.
We just need a vote.
Okay. Could you put it to a motion, Ms. Dr.
I
Webb?
did, and we got a second. We're just waiting on the vote.
And who seconded?
I did.
Okay, then it's moved and properly second that we will postpone at this time the consulting agreement with Mr. Quinn and Associates until all matters of the contract has been resolved. Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is basically informational items. I had asked each board member to find 3, and if you found 1 that was sufficient, that we could start our search for a superintendent. And what I would like to do, we need to vote. We can't have all of these people running in, and there is a cost to all of these persons that on these search committees. And I've been to all the board meetings and I only see but 2 firms there all the time. But at this time, I wouldn't care to discuss those firms because I don't know them personally. But I'll just go down the list. And what I will ask Ms. Colquitt to do, only wanting 3, that she will follow up and she can get a price for us. And then too, you have to look at it if it's in state or out of state. If they're out of state, it may be a problem. If we could get somebody locally, it may be better. But being in-house doesn't always mean it's good. So whatever the board decides is good with me. So Ms. Campbell, who did you have?
Well, one was Ray and Associates, and they're kind of picky about who they pay.
They're
Can't
probably
hear
one of
you.
the best in the state.
Say that again, please.
Wait a minute. We weren't able to hear her.
Okay, you should be good.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay. Was Ray and Associates, and I talked to the Arkansas School Boards Association. I talked to Tony today, and he said they were kind of picky at who they wanted, and we could approach them. At McPherson and Jacobson, been down that road before. And the rest of them, I don't know, and could find out very little about them.
Okay. Did you get that, Ms. Colquitt, you got the information? Okay. The next person on the list, I'm just going down board members because if you didn't, I'm giving everybody an opportunity to have a say. That's what I'm doing. And so, Ms. Huggins, did you come up with a companies?
Well, I looked at Ray and Associates and also McPherson and Jacobson, and both of them are familiar with schools and school districts in Arkansas. I don't really know one way or the other which way to go. Some of those other ones that we were looking at, one of them looked like they specialized in the Catholic schools, and one of them wasn't even in our area. But I don't know enough
right.
to really say anything.
Okay, very good. The next, Rochelle, did you come up with anyone?
No, ma'am, I didn't even look because that's
Okay,
not
then, thank
where
you
my
very much.
focus was.
Mr. Steele, did you come up with anyone?
Well, yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, I did take a look at a couple of firms, but the company I would like to recommend, or certainly I'm leaning in that direction, is the North Little Rock School District, because I feel that we can do this in-house. I don't think that we necessarily need to spend a lot of money with a firm. I've been through that. I know some of the other board members, Madam President, you've been through it a few times. Remember last time we paid that money and went through the process and ended up hiring someone who was from right here in North Little Rock. I think that was a good decision, but I don't think we needed a firm to do that. With budget issues we have now and unforeseen budget issues, I just would like us to be very cautious and careful. I have full confidence in our HR department and Dr. Smith to have the ability to actually get this done. I would recommend that we have some community input in developing a committee. I thought that part worked well last time, but I don't think we actually need a firm at this point.
Okay, Ms. Temple?
I like Ray and Associates.
Okay.
I like they had a different template, maybe not the normal, a lot of options. So I like that one.
Ms. Walkham?
Dr. Jacob is swamped right now. And with everything, with the transition, bless his heart. We need a firm. We need someone else to handle this. And at a later date, I would also suggest we need an outside firm to come in and review our policies. Because of the RIF that we just almost took part of, the policies need to be reviewed, all of them. So I suggest an outside firm. McPherson was my first choice. Ray is also a close second. Either one of those two, I would be pleased with.
Okay, Dorothy Williams. My choice is that we find a firm because it is too taxing. I have been through this before, and a lot of feelings were hurt because when you use a firm, they know every process of involving the community. And the president is never involved. I'll only come in to say thank you for coming in because they have about 5 or 6 meetings to make sure in every zone to make sure that everybody has an input. Because the last time we tried that, it just didn't work out and a lot of feelings were hurt. And I feel that if a company does it, it's much easier on the board. We have enough to be doing without coming to meetings or trying to search for a superintendent. We are the last pass over in this process because after the company has talked to all of the superintendents, they make a recommendation to us, and that's what we deal with. So the bottom line then, the first vote I would like to have is that since Mr. Steele had his statement and you all have had yours, only one thing I'm asking, Madam Parliamentarian, is if you want to do the community, if you want the North Rock to do it, or do you want a company to do it? That's what the vote is, Dr. Reddick. Would you process that, please? Dr. Reddick.
I'm thinking, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the fact that I just don't think that the board is ready to be looking for nobody because the board ain't together yet. But if I have to choose whether or not to let the district do it or an outside, because of the way that the board is in disarray right now, we need somebody on the outside.
Okay, I was asking you to put it to a motion, Dr. Reddick.
Is that the motion may be premature? Do we know the cost yet of each one?
Yeah, we're gonna, I think that, Mr. Steele, that would be the next step, once we break them all down to find out the cost of each one. And I think that Ms. Colquitt would be able to do that for us in contacting each company. And so, Dr. Reddick.
Yeah, I'm the only one who mentioned doing it in-house, which I think we can. I'm the only one. I would recommend that we just move forward and get all the information that we need and then
make a decision.
Okay. So, board members, the thing is that anything that we do has to be decent and in order, not just agreement, because we don't want this to come back. My thing is that there was only, as Mr. Steele had forestated, he expressed his thought, I expressed mine. I had not chosen a company because I felt that the board would have enough. That what I was saying, we would come, I would like to have a vote to say, do you want a company, or do you want a what? The community. Okay, that's what I was asking.
Tracy froze.
Beg your pardon?
Tracy's internet, he froze.
We still have quorum. Are we okay continuing?
We still have a quorum.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, now I was just letting you know that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, could we say,
coming back in.
Okay, what did you say? I will have the roll call. I'll call the roll, Ms. Quick, and you just state what you want, company, whatever. Okay, do so at this time.
Andy Campbell.
Company.
Elizabeth Huggins,
Outside company.
Rochelle Reddish,
Company.
Tracy Steele,
HR.
Okay. He's back.
Cindy Temple,
Company.
Natalie Walken,
Outside company.
Dorothy Williams,
Company. Okay, now the next step that we will do, we need to break down these 3 the name, how many did we end up with, Ms. Colquitt Company? 5, 6, 6. So with those 6, would you please do research on the 6 and what state they're in and cost analysis? Is that agreeable to the board?
Yes, Madam President, can I recommend that whatever company the board decides to go with, can we make sure that the community is involved? And I'm not talking about the area meetings that we had, but I'm talking about a community panel that will actually help with the decision of the finalists that's going to be actually communicated back to the board.
That will happen, Mr. Steele. The companies, when they come in, and what we can do is have a representative from each of our zones to be a part of that. And, but they always, and we'll have Dustin to put out communications whenever they come in to meet, that this is about North Rock and our stakeholders have the last choice. And they can easily make recommendations to us as a board. And I appreciate that statement, sir. Okay, that is very good. What else do we have?
That's it.
We need a motion for adjournment. And thank you, and good evening, and stay safe. Yes, Ms. Renner?
That's what I was about to do. I make a motion that we go to the house. We go to our rooms. We adjourn.
Hey, and stay safe. And Dr. McGee, before we go off, is he still there?
Yes.
Dr. McGee, what is the calendar like for this Thursday?
What time, Madam President?
I mean, is there something we're supposed to have this
Talking
Thursday?
about the board meeting Thursday?
With the meeting?
Are you talking about the board meeting Thursday?
Is that this Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, sir. Board meeting. You're right.
Yeah, I think that is the grievance hearing that was scheduled in HR. And I think that the board would hear. Dr. Smith is here on that. That is a grievance hearing that we're going to have. One of the grievance hearings.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. McGee, for that input. We will have a board meeting Thursday at 5:30 promptly. And good evening and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.